Donald Trump will pardon pro-life activists that have been imprisoned by the Biden DOJ. The move is expected to coincide with the 52nd annual March for Life in Washington, D.C., where Trump will appear via video. We knew this was likely going to be the case. I tremendously respect Donald Trump pardoning these pro-life activists. It is kind of silly that he's going to wait until the March for Life, but it's okay. It's only a few days. And I do believe that those that were arrested, convicted, and charged and imprisoned probably will appreciate that at this great and large moment, Trump makes the announcement about the rights of individuals. Now, this, my friends, is a bigger story that has to do with something called the FACE Act. And let me be clear. An individual engaged in peaceful protest should not be imprisoned for it, regardless of whatever crackpot law they try putting in place. In 1994, they passed the FACE Act, which is the freedom of access to clinical entrances or something like this. And they were like, anybody who obstructs or uses violence or force against someone trying to go into an abortion clinic or a place of worship will be prosecuted. The only problem is the place of worship provision is BS. They didn't arrest any of the cops who were blocking people from going to church in New York, did they? Yeah, I didn't think so. It was one side and it was always intended to be. That is, if you are a pro-life activist who peacefully protests at an abortion clinic, they arrest you. They put you in prison. And that's wrong. Congress shall make no law, right? That's the First Amendment. And they did. This is a direct obstruction of your freedom of speech. You have, so look, let me put it this way. What should happen if you obstruct a building? You get arrested. Then what? You get a slap on the wrist. Court supervision, maybe a small fine, $50. And they say, don't block entrances. It's actually really simple. Pro-life activists show up to a clinic. They all go around and they hold hands and lock arms or whatever. These people didn't even do this, but let's say they did. What do? One cop can go up and say, sir, you're under arrest for physically obstructing this entrance. It's trespass, and now we're going to remove you. You process them, and then you let them go. Then later on, they get a court appearance. The judge says, okay, I get it. You're activists. You did this thing. You got arrested. You pay a fine. Have a nice day. Case dismissed. Instead, the Biden DOJ and Democrats are like, what were they doing? They were sitting down praying in front of a building, put them in prison. And that's what they did. And that's wrong. And this is so annoying because the left lives in a world of insanity. I don't consider myself pro-life. I do believe abortion is wrong. I fall more into a traditional pro-choice camp in that I believe that there is a certain difficulty in drawing and how we adjudicate medically necessary interventions that may result in the termination of a child. Now, by all means, if you want to draft a law and say you can't for no reason intentionally terminate the life of a child simply for the purpose of ending the child's life, we could probably find some agreement there. My view is largely that there are challenges in how we implement law pertaining to a doctor saying something to the effect of, and it is a rare circumstance, we need to perform a procedure that will result in the loss of life at a high likelihood. However, there's some legal restrictions. So that's why it was supposed to be safe, legal, and rare. It wasn't supposed to be used as contraception, but here we are. Now, the left is going to argue. The reason I get into this, and I don't want to reignite a whole debate because this video is about the news, but I bring it up because the left is going to be like, oh, the fake pro-choice guy. No, it's because if you are pro-life, pro-choice, whatever you want to call it, you shouldn't go to prison for peacefully sitting in front of a building. If you're an environmental activist and you sit down in the street and chain your arms or whatever, they give you a slap on the wrist. You shouldn't go to prison for it. I've long respected the peaceful protests of the far left. As I've stated, when they chain themselves to doors or lock themselves up, this is the degree to which we tolerate a pressure release. These people feel wronged. Maybe they're stupid. Maybe they're wrong, whatever. But we don't want violence. So we have a certain degree of tolerance. And that is, you have broken the law with obstruction. We will arrest you for it. But we understand that there is a certain degree of pressure release we allow. So you'll get a slap on the wrist and a ticket and you go home. The same should be true for pro-life activists. The story from the Post-Millennial reports, President Trump is expected to pardon pro-life activists imprisoned under the Biden administration's Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances FACE Act enforcement, according to a new report from the Daily Wire. The pardon aligns with Trump's efforts to address cases by the previous administration that he views are politically motivated. The revelation also coincides with the 52nd annual March for Life in D.C. The move follows Trump's Monday executive order pardoning over 1,500 January 6 related defendants, fulfilling campaign promises to challenge Biden-era prosecutions. Pro-life advocates since called on Trump to act similarly for activists they believe were unfairly targeted for opposing abortion. I hope President Trump will shortly pardon the pro-life prisoners unjustly targeted and jailed by the Biden administration. Republican Missouri Senator Josh Hawley posted on X, they deserve to be free. Indeed, Rep. Roy, on January 21st, reintroduced legislation to repeal the FACE Act, saying, Americans just spent the last 4 years being targeted by a weaponized justice system. The FACE Act was one of the primary weapons of abuse, being used to politically target, arrest, and jail pro-life Americans for speaking out and standing up for life, Congressman Roy said. While President Trump and his team are already fast at work reversing the damage of the J6 political prosecutions and persecutions through pardons and commutations, I am hopeful those targeted under the FACE Act will be given similar relief. But more importantly, we in Congress need to do our part to eliminate the laws used to weaponize for the weaponization, including the FACE Act. Data my office obtained from Merrick Garland's DOJ showed that 97% of FACE Act prosecutions from 1994 to 2024 were against pro-life Americans. Now that we have a Republican trifecta in the House, Senate, White House, and don't forget Supreme Court, Congress should move quickly to repeal the law and ensure that no future president can weaponize it against pro-lifers. Again, no more excuses. Let's get it done. Let me say this, my friends. Abortion as contraception is wrong. The intentional process by which you terminate the life of a baby in the womb for the purpose of, I just didn't want to have it. That's wrong. That is morally wrong and is outrageous. And as Ron Paul said, it shouldn't be illegal. It should be unthinkable. And I agree with that. Why? I'll tell you my ideal circumstance. When you get to the point in a society where you begin writing down things you should not do, that is when you realize that your culture and your constitution, what actually makes the people, are breaking down. What we want as a society is cultural ubiquity, that everyone recognizes you do not end the life of a child simply because you don't want a baby. Sorry, there's responsibility involved. But the reason why I say it shouldn't be illegal, it should be unthinkable, is that our society should recognize you are not doing this. It's wrong. But in the rare circumstances where there is a doctor in a medical procedure, and it is rare, where a doctor says to a woman, there is a circumstance in which we believe that the baby will die, you will die. We need to perform a procedure, but unfortunately this would terminate the pregnancy, but it's this or nothing. I don't like the idea that we have to adjudicate that at a courtroom. There are stories, and these are true, where there is believed to be a brain dead fetus that the woman would like to terminate that is literally not a live being. Well, I guess it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Because I know pro-lifers probably would disagree with me on that one. They would say that brain death does not, preclude one's right to actually, as the body, live. But I do believe there are still challenges in stillbirths or like the babies can die, and it's happened to people I know. I don't want to be in a scenario where a woman is forced to carry a dead fetus simply because she would be required to adjudicate this in a court of law. That being said, what are we trying to accomplish? And what do I agree on with the pro-lifers, though I consider myself a traditional pro-choice, although I hate the term now because it's used to mean pro-abortion, which I think is wrong. I'm trying to accomplish a scenario by which I would say we all agree, the pro-lifers would agree with this on this one. We don't want anyone ever to abort a baby simply because they don't want to have a baby. We all agree that shouldn't be happening. How we go about getting there is the challenge, I suppose. Now, that being said, because I don't want to just debate all the abortion stuff, the FACE Act is clearly an affront to justice. This is a stupid law. It prohibits three things: using physical force, threat of force, or physical obstruction to intentionally injure, intimidate, or interfere with, or attempt to injure, blah, 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 someone who's obtaining abortion. Or a place of worship. Oh, come on. We know what it's about. It's about some peaceful protesters linking arms in front of an abortion clinic, which they should be allowed to do. Sorry. But you see, abortion for these people is religion. I mean, this is insane to me that you have now, certainly I can understand you want to imprison people who murder others, but that's already illegal. You don't need anything special for that. The left's obsession with giving everyone abortions is terrifying, but I think it's largely because they're Malthusian. They don't want people. They don't like people. Well, my friends, I've heard a lot of people say, Tim, you will be pro-life the moment you see your baby on the, the sonogram? Is that what it's called? The ultrasound. And with my child very nearly on the way, I would say it was a profound feeling. And everybody with kids knows it. when you see that image for the first time of your own child. It is a profound, indescribable feeling. But I would say that largely my opinion had already shifted a long time ago, well before I was about to be a dad. And that is, I find it to be the utmost of irresponsibility, gluttony, and wrath that there are individuals in this country who would decide that they would get an abortion simply because they don't want the baby. I mean, that's just absolutely insane to me. And I know it is insane to all the pro-lifers as well. Where I disagree with the pro-life crowd largely is on the limits of government in how we adjudicate these claims and these processes. And I recognize it's a moral impossibility. It's an absolute moral impossibility. There's no middle ground. There is yes or no on this, and it's tough. And so it's sad to me that it used to be, as I grew up, pro-life and pro-choice was, do we ban abortion or do we recognize sometimes there are drastic medical emergencies? And the issue has always been that too many people have abused what was supposed to be for emergencies for lack of responsibility. So I agree largely with pro-life crowd, largely. But I take the more libertarian pro-life stance, which is government restriction, but agreement that abortion is wrong. I don't have an answer for you. I'll just say this. I know there'll be a million and one comments, but I will just say it again. There's no easy answer on this one, and I understand the pro-lifers' position. That's why they say just ban it, just shut it down, and adjudicate any medical emergencies. That's tough. That is seriously tough. I don't know, man. No good answers for you. But I'm glad to see that Trump is pardoning these people because peaceful protest is peaceful protest. I'll leave it there. One more segment coming up. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone you know. We will see you at 6. Thanks for hanging out.